Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
Now, here's your host, Ed Cohen.
This is Ed in San Diego, and you're on Global TV Talk Show. Our very special guest today is Stephen Howard, and many of you already know that he's the creator of the Strive XL and the Thrive XL, and I'm honored to be able to co-produce and co-host it. So welcome again, Stephen.
Thank you, Ed. Well, glad to see you again.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. Today is November 23, 21.
Same to you and your family.
So last weekend, there were like 3 million people, according to TSA, flying.
Yeah.
Right? That's amazing, isn't it?
It's astonishing. That's before Thanksgiving. Things are coming back, without a doubt.
So are they going back to work?
I think a lot of that would have been holiday travel, college football related. The one thing I've been reading and a few people I've been talking to, business travel hasn't come back yet. So I think most of that is people reconnecting with family and friends.
Yeah, just running away somewhere.
Running away, yeah.
Yeah. So there's some strange stuff going on in the news. I'm not going to dwell on that, but it's sort of a breakdown in order that fringe people are freaking out. So in Austria, according to the newspapers that I looked at this morning online, the streets are empty because a government crackdown, total shutdown, stay in. So that means that there's disease floating around in the air. That must be it.
It sounds like Germany's getting close to the same thing for what I've been reading as well. Particularly if they're going to crack down on the unvaccinated people in Germany. I mean, one guy made a comment, I don't remember what his title was, but he said by springtime, Germans will either be vaccinated, have experienced COVID and survived, or they'll be dead. That was a pretty blunt message.
That's it, right? Well, yeah. Right. So there's only 88 million of them.
Yeah.
So a little different than 350 million, but still, that's a lot of people to lock up.
A lot of people. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Thanksgiving weekend, again, with family and friends and people letting their guard down. And then, of course, everyone going back to the shopping centers for the Black Friday weekend sales. It's going to be interesting to see whether we get a spreader event. We, as you know, I live in Mexico right now, and last weekend for us was what they call Buen Fin, which is kind of good end of the year. That's the equivalent of the Black Friday sales. And we were out on Saturday in one of the shopping malls, and it was jam-packed. I've never seen it in the last 3 years. I've never seen it so busy. The car park was filled. There was no social distancing at all. So everyone wearing a mask. I think that may be the one difference between Mexico and the United States right now. Everybody, like 97%, wear a mask when they're outside their house. So that may be the one.
Boy, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Vaccinations here, I think, are running at about 40% of the population. Of course, Mexico, you've got a lot of the rural, a lot of poor areas where the vaccination rates are quite low. But, in Mexico City, it's probably closer to 75% vaccination rates, I'd say. But still, people are wearing their mask, even if they're vaccinated.
That's interesting. Yeah. So let's talk about how leaders have changed or will need to change. It's quite a mixed bag, right?
It really is. And I think, and some won't change, obviously. Some are going to go back to the old ways, the pre-pandemic ways, what I consider kind of dinosaur ways of leadership, because the younger workers aren't going to put up with the control and command, do it my way or the highway. They're actually selecting the highway. We had nearly 8 million people resign their jobs, actually over 8 million people in just August and September. And in the United States. And these are not just all busboys and waitresses and, people in the food and service industry. They're computer technicians, they're software engineers, they're accountants, financial control people, right across the board. People are saying, I don't want to go back to what it was in 2019. I don't want to go back to 50-hour work weeks. I don't want to go back to the 90-minute commutes each way. Life has more meaning to it. Life is more than just work.
So the empty chairs, remember that thing? Well, I'm managing empty chairs. Oh my God, what am I going to do? The managers, even the overweight, balding, white, fat guy wearing a tie, yelling and screaming. Others, not just that caricature, but how are people managing? How can they do that with this hybrid situation?
Well, first of all, I think they have to take the word managing out of their vocabulary. I mean, the guy who said I'm managing chairs, well, that's the wrong mindset. You manage things, you manage processes, you manage procedures, you lead people. And so I think the number one thing I'm coaching people on right now is just take the word managing out of your vocabulary. Nobody wakes up in the morning and wants to go to work or work from home or go to a WeWork type place and work there and be managed. No one wakes up in the morning and says, I want to be managed today. Or very few people anyway. People want to be led. They want to be motivated. They want to be given direction. Interestingly, when we talk about motivating employees, and Gallup has been doing research on this for years, and it always shows year in and year out, somewhere between 15 and 18% of the workforce is highly engaged, and about 20% are highly disengaged. And the rest, which is usually around 60 to 65%, depending on the specific numbers, they're just, they just show up. They're not engaged, they're engaged part-time, but they're not highly engaged. And that's because we have not done a very good job as leaders of motivating our workforce. And I think one of the things leaders have to understand coming out of the pandemic is really understand, what do employees want and how do you motivate people? And remember, motivation has two components to it. Extrinsic, which are things like salary, bonuses, anything external to you, and intrinsic. And the intrinsic motivating factors are much more powerful. And those are the levers that leaders need to pull on.
Okay, so that means, how does it make me feel?
It's how you make me feel. It's what passion it is. One of the two biggest intrinsic motivators for any of us as human beings. This goes to basic psychology. One is autonomy. So having some ability to dictate your own workflow, your own processes, your own future, and the other is purpose. So the more that leaders can say to somebody, Ed, here's the value you provide to the team, here's the value you provide to our department or our unit, or here's the value you provide to our company, that helps give you purpose. And then with that, if you work for me and I say, Ed, here's the project, here's the goal, and not micromanage you, let you have some autonomy as to how you're going to implement the workflow to accomplish the task, to accomplish the goal. Those are two of the highest intrinsic motivating factors just from a core human nature. But we don't do that. We'd say, Ed, here's the job, here's what you got to go do, here's the time frame to do it, and here's how you do it, and do it very specifically this way. And then I'm going to check on you every day to see what your progress is. How motivated are you now, Ed?
So let's talk about Thrive and mental well-being. A lot of people are having some troubles, not the extreme people, but just me.
Everybody.
And I mean, everybody is, how do we stay, I'm focused, but man, there's so much pressure.
Yeah.
And I've been working to get things done, and this success ratio compared to the effort put out, my own ROI isn't apparent.
Yeah. I think probably there's two biggest components to that. One is the stress that everyone's under, through the pandemic or even before the pandemic. What was I reading the other day? Almost half of us will experience some form of mental unwellness. I don't like to call it mental illness because there's so many connotations of those words when you combine it, but just say mental unwell-being. Half of us will experience it in our adult lifetimes. 37% of employees who are experiencing, whether it's depression or just a down period or whatever, don't want to talk about it at work because they're afraid that somebody might find out about it. We have to get rid of the stigma, basically, about mental unwellness or the well-being or lack of well-being in the workplace. And then, stress is the other one. And then as you add to that burnout, I mean, there was a company earlier this year, I think its name was Visier, Visier, if I recall right. They surveyed 1,000 people, and 89% said they had experienced burnout in the past 12 months. And here's what leaders really need to understand, because everyone's going to blame it on the pandemic. No, it's not us, it's the pandemic. 70% said they would leave their current job for an organization offering better resources to reduce the feelings of burnout. So to me, that's one of the contributing factors to the great resignation that you mentioned earlier today. People are burned out and the organizations aren't helping them with it.
So let's talk about burnout. What does that mean? So before you get into it, as I know you will in detail, my take on burnout is I don't want to do this anymore. And yet I have to.
Burnout is just really, it's the being overwhelmed and stressed out. It's just it's really the best definition of burnout. It's a state of complete emotional, physical, and or mental exhaustion. And it's caused by excessive and prolonged work-related stress. So it's not day-to-day stress. It's not, unless it's been prolonged. So complete, just feeling overwhelmed. And it's a combination of work challenges, home life challenges, unsustainable level of work demands. And then during the pandemic, added to all that was people suddenly had child or caregiver additional responsibility, as well as child education responsibilities. So, it's escalated. Here's some interesting information on the results of burnout. Why it's important that leaders understand this is that when an employee experiences burnout, they're 63% more likely to take a sick day. They're 23% more likely to visit an emergency room. And they're 2.5 times more likely to actively be seeking another job. And their own confidence in their performance dips 13%. So, I mean, there's some bottom line impacts of burnout. The attitude has always been, go rest, take a day, take a couple hours and rest. You'll feel better in the morning. No, burnout. What was I saying to someone the other day? Burnout is kind of like what's going to happen to all of us with our weight between now and say January the 10th. We're gonna put on 0.5 pound this weekend. We're gonna go to some parties in early December and suddenly we put on another 0.5 pound. At Christmas, we're gonna put on another pound. Here and there, it creeps up. And suddenly in January the 3rd, we wake up and we're like 5 pounds heavier than we were in November. It didn't happen on New Year's Eve. It happened gradually. Well, burnout's the same thing. Burnout just doesn't happen from yesterday. It builds up gradually until people are just exhausted. And what managers, I would suggest, really need to do, managers and leaders, is start to recognize what are the signs of burnout and make your environment psychologically safe so people can talk about it. It's okay to say, God, I'm exhausted, I'm burned out.
So mental wellness, well-being, it's okay. Yet the guy over there or the lady over there is that my competition or is that my enemy? Is that a divisive thing now more than ever? Based upon the wellness and sharing of ideas and sharing of information, is not public. It's okay. My boss, it's okay for me to talk to my boss that way, but I don't want Jane or James over here to know what I just told you, boss.
Unfortunately, that's the stigma that's related to it. I would say if you create the right environment and talk about it, everyone should be willing to say, if you're tired, if let's say you come into work and you've got a newborn baby and you say, whether you're the father or the mother of the baby, and you come into work and you're exhausted, you say, oh, I had a terrible night's sleep. The baby kept me awake all night. People are empathetic to that. They understand. They kind of, they don't pressure you so much. Why can't you just come into work and say, you know what? My brain's fried. I'm mentally exhausted. Don't ask me any tough questions today. I can't think straight. Why should that be wrong? Why not share it with your colleagues? But we have to create an environment where it's okay to do that. Interesting, Gallup did some research. I'm hesitating now, but I'm pretty sure it was Gallup. Maybe it was that Vizier survey I was talking about earlier. 42% of women feel uncomfortable even talking to their boss about burnout, and only 30% of men do. So just to begin with, less than a third of our workforce won't even talk to their boss about their burnout, much less to their colleagues.
So let's talk about women in the workplace. And from what I've read, I'm not an expert at all, but from what I've read, it seems like a huge percentage of the people who have resigned happen to be female.
It seems that way. I haven't really seen the exact figures on it, but it's not surprising. I think women make up the bulk of the workforce anyway, quite frankly, particularly in knowledge workers. The last few years, even not college hires, people entering college, there've been more women like going into MBA programs than men for the last several years. So yeah, women are becoming the majority of particularly our knowledge workforce.
Yeah, so no surprises. Hi, this is Ed, and I thank you for tuning in to Global TV Talk Show, a unit on globalbusinessnews.net. We broadcast to the world, as you know by now. So I wanted to make sure that you understand that our programs are advertising supported. We're grateful for co-sponsors, advertisers. They have a marketing budget coupled with a strong desire to be associated with our top quality program. And of course, I'm grateful. Thank you. So for the next few minutes, you're going to see some commercials. It's mostly very low key, and our prices are very, very reasonable. Our exposure for the advertisers go 12 months and beyond. Some of our advertisers have been with us since April of 2020. And Google Analytics has tracked over 125,000 what they call audience page views, which means you looking at this page, that's a page view. Now, if you happen to go to one of our other shows or to our radio broadcasts or to our newspaper or magazine, those become additional page views as measured by Google Analytics. And so when they say 125,000 since spring of 2020 up through Labor Day, a month ago, that's pretty good numbers. And the past 30 days, Google Analytics has measured just under 6,000 audience page views. And that, according to them, is a 42% increase in audience participation over the month of August. So thank you very much. Well, here's our advertisers, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes or so, and we'll proceed with this interesting conversation. Thank you.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
And by heirs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at airs.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Become a global player in your field.
Cross Culture to Go provides virtual support for your global business and career success.
We can help you thrive in 140 plus countries and markets.
On the web at crossculturetogo.com.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
Hi, I'm Sergey Gorbatov.
I'm Angela Lane.
Together we're researchers, writers and practitioners in the field of human resources.
And we've also been multi-country, multi-assignment career expats.
We owe our professional development and growth to a very large extent to the international assignment opportunities that we have had.
But in a world where distributed work may become the norm, we also want to understand what will happen to the nature, duration, and purpose of international assignments.
Together with our colleague, Julian Dalzell from the University of South Carolina, we're undertaking a study on the future of expatriation.
And we'd value your contribution. You can participate in this important study by completing a simple 10-minute questionnaire.
Access the questionnaire by typing in your browser tinyurl.com/expert study. That's tinyurl.com/expert study. You can also find the link here on ED's website next to this video.
Thank you for joining us in this study. In return for your contribution, we'll provide you with a copy of our research.
And of course, you'll be invited to an exclusive webinar hosted by Ed, where we will share our findings right here on Global Business News.
And so please go to tinyurl.com/expat study. Take the survey so that we can better understand the future of expatriation.
So recently, we had the pleasure of hosting a couple of people that you know well, Bill Welton, and I thought he was a fabulous guest.
Yeah, Bill. The other one was Bob Eckert. Bob with thinking about how to think, how to make decisions, and Bill's got a great phrase. He says, "Be surprised, but don't be taken by surprise." So his whole idea is, you should be able to be planning, thinking about plans A, B, C, and D. And I totally agree with him. You started the conversation with how leadership is changing. Another way I would suggest leadership is changing, but also the way organizations are going to have to evaluate leaders. Right now, or up to the last couple of years, a leader was evaluated on their ability to execute a plan. You put together a strategic plan, your 2022 strategic plan or your 5-year strategic plan, and then you evaluate how will you execute to that plan. So it becomes locked in stone, boom. Now I think leaders are going to have to be evaluated on how well they can plan alternative strategies, plan A, plan B, plan C, maybe even D and E, and how can they pivot and adjust quickly from A to B, or maybe go right from A to C when circumstances change.
So let's say I work for you, okay, and so you're my boss, and you're a smart dude, and you are with it, and you understand that me as a worker, I don't want to be told what to do. But I need a coach. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I need coaching. And so you say, Ed, well, you have, our company has goals, and your portion of that is to handle this group of customers and this marketplace. And we'd like you to try to hit 50% of all the new revenue coming from this group should be new business from the same customer base. All right. And then 50% from get new customers and figure out how to integrate it all. And I'm going to let you do it. But if you need coaching on something, my door's always open. That kind of a manager. That sounds like a good manager to me. I don't know, because I don't need direction, but I need support, coaching.
That's a good manager. And here's where I'm going to make it into a great leader, which is what I tend to do is a great leader would have finished that conversation of being not putting the onus on the employee, not putting the onus on you to come to me when you need help, but say, what we're going to do, Ed, we're going to schedule monthly one-on-ones, and where we're going to do some development of you. We're going to do some, show you how to leverage your strengths. So your strengths as a salesperson, in that case, that example you gave, let's focus on how you can leverage your strengths so you can get that 50% from new customers. But also we're going to look at your gap areas, whether maybe it's your sales letters, maybe it's the way you close, maybe it's, who knows, whatever it might be, we're going to work. So I'm going to spend time developing you as well, rather than making you come to me when you have a hurdle. That's going to be the difference. And
so I'm going to make my own noose. You're not going to give me a noose. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to, this is what I want to do, and you're going to help me get there.
Exactly. And when a leader, when you're a leader, you have two key responsibilities. One is direct feedback. So that's where you're either giving what I call enhancement feedback to say, hey, Ed, you made a great presentation today. As a matter of fact, when you were very well prepared, and the way you handled the questions from the audience, I noticed that they gained confidence, not only in the data we were presenting, but in you as well. Great presentation. Now, that took me 40 seconds, but notice the specifics there. Most feedback with that would have been, hey, Ed, nice presentation today. You can't replicate nice presentation, but when I said you were well prepared and the way you handle questions, and I showed the impact that you handle the questions, and the audience gained confidence in you and our data, now you can go replicate that in your next presentation. So the feedback has to be more specific. When you have your coaching hat on, it's more asking the right questions of you. So if you're saying, look, I'm struggling with this client, I'm struggling getting my foot in the door with this other client, I might ask you questions like, well, what industry are we good in related to that? Who might know the people that you're trying to, can somebody give you an introduction? I'm just going to ask you questions that will help you find your own answers, your own best methodology to proceed. And if you don't, then I'll tell you, hey, why don't you go use so-and-so to get you an introduction to this client? So that's the coaching role. So I'm not going to let you hang yourself. That's the difference. As a leader, I won't let you hang yourself.
Perfect. Bingo.
Yeah.
Okay, you out there, write your questions to Stephen Howard, Caliente Leadership. He's on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's
give me a
talk.
call.
Yeah, let's talk about Thrive XL. All right. Is that a flip side to Strive XL?
Yeah, it's just a slightly different focus. So, remember, Ed, my background, my career before I got in leadership was about branding and marketing. So everything I do has a branding spin to it. So Thrive XL is where we want to focus our conversations with our guests, particularly on how we can create workplace wellness environments, what we can do to help people thrive in the workplace, how we can reduce conflict in the workplace, how we can introduce wellness programs, some of the mental, create that safe, psychologically safe mental health environment in the workplace. That's what Thrive is all about. Strive is kind of what we're talking about. How can leaders be better? How can leaders continue to learn? What new things do leaders need to learn now? How can leaders develop their people better and help everyone strive to achieve performance goals, strive to be better, strive to work together better? And then the XL in both cases, I'll be honest, when I first came with these ideas, I wanted to, copy TEDx and SpaceX and all those others, but I think there was a Strive X out there somewhere. And so we did XL because we want people to live extra large. So we want people to thrive extra large. We want people to strive extra large. So that's the branding behind these two shows.
Well, Stephen, thanks for being my guest today.
Always.
I'm going to go out and find more business.
Well, please go find more business because you ask tough questions. Don't find any more questions. Go find some new business.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you, Ed. Same to you and Ann. Enjoy it. And thanks a lot. Bye. All the best.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day and stay safe.